I am not a boxer. I am, however, a fighter. I represent 9% of your workforce. You see me every day, but you don't really see me. If you ever travel to Alaska, you know those big, gorgeous icebergs? We take photos of them. They're big, they're beautiful, but they're just as big and beautiful below the surface, what you all don't see. So I am the disability mama. I am a fighter. I fight every day for what my child needs, from medical services to educational services, but I have unique needs as your employee. I also have incredible skill sets. I'm going to talk to you about what those skill sets are, so you're going to want more than 9% of me. Let's start with open enrollment. You've just announced that we have more health plans than ever this year. Everybody is so excited. I run to read it, and I cry. Why do I cry? Because the therapy provisions are less. My child needs therapy, not 12 sessions a year of OT, PT, speech, a lifetime. But you're not providing that. So I have to make a decision as a parent. Do I go into personal debt to make sure that my child gets these services, or do I just wait and see what happens to them? For those of you that are in the room and you're a parent, would you want to have to make that decision? Now we're coming up on Take Our Daughters and Sons to Work Day. Everybody is excited. They love bringing their kids to the office. Not me. I actually call in sick that day. Because one year I did bring my daughter, but you know what? It wasn't good. She wasn't feeling included. She wasn't supported. There were no activities that she could do. And by the way, our annual sales meetings, no different. I don't go because I can't bring my family the way others can. I went to some senior folks in the company and I talked about it. You know what they told me? They said, Nadine, we can't make those kinds of changes for just one employee. But remember, I'm not just one employee. So then our company announced that it started a disability employee resource group. I spoke to some of you over the last day or two that you have them. But it's one group, meaning it's employees who have disabilities in the same group as those of us that are parents of children with special needs. We have different interests, we have different needs. I'm giving my child all this therapy so they don't become that disabled adult. Can't you understand that? We need two separate groups. Now, I am an amazing performer. I get top ratings every year. But unlike my peers, I'm not promoted. When I sit down with my manager, he tells me, Nadine, unless you start getting things set at home, so you have the ability to travel and relocate, it's just not going to happen. Why can't he understand? The divorce rate in the special needs parent population is upwards of 80%. I'm stressed, I'm frustrated. And oh, by the way, what he said to me, I'm just curious, is that even legal? I have a colleague whose child was born with Down syndrome, and she was so excited when she came back to work. She brought photos of her daughter, but it changed immediately. One person said, didn't you have an amnio? Because then you would have known. Someone else said, doesn't she need you more than we do? Why are you back at work so fast? Someone came to me and said, Nadine, I heard what happened to the baby. I'm so sorry. We always thought you and Doug were the perfect couple. What does that mean? I think we need some etiquette and awareness training, not just that unconscious bias. Right? I have another colleague who hides the fact that he has 3 children, specifically his 3rd child, who's significantly disabled, uses a wheelchair, is on a ventilator, does not have photos on his desk of that child. He says that in his last job he did, and he was always getting questions he wasn't comfortable answering. And if he was out for a couple of days, people always assumed it was for the child, and then more assumptions, more questions. He can't bring his whole self to work. That's really sad. Now, like most of you in the room who are parents, I leave work to what? Go to another full-time job at home. But here's my world. You go home and feed your child, probably with a fork, a knife. I feed mine through a tube in her stomach. My playtime is actually therapy time until my daughter cries and says, "Mommy, Mommy, please just be Mommy. Don't be my therapist. It hurts." Bedtime reading, mine, not hers, is nurse's notes from the day, is looking at the lawsuit paperwork, because of course I have to sue the school district to get services for her, the insurance denials. I'm doing research on diagnosis, prognosis, scheduling more doctor's appointments. I'm just trying to make it all better for her and for me, and hoping my employer can help me do the same. Is there legislation? Of course there is. There's FMLA. But that's going to help me for what? Weeks, not years. We have the Americans with Disabilities Act. That doesn't protect me. I don't have a disability. It would protect my daughter. Now, I wonder how many of you know that there is legislation that says you cannot discriminate against me because I'm caring for someone with a disability. Now, like I said earlier, I'm highly rated. I am a darn good employee. I am the queen of multitasking. So I'm highly productive. I'm also quite innovative. You'd be surprised the medical equipment I have created out of a straw and electrical tape. Very interesting. Negotiation skills, you could hire me now to negotiate world peace. I've got that one down too. Now, of course, I have a personal story like the rest of you. I married my childhood sweetheart. We have beaten the odds. I have not one, but two adult daughters with disabilities. I spent 20 plus years in corporate. I had a variety of roles, and because I did make the sacrifice to relocate and keep starting over again with doctors and therapists, I did receive promotions. And at one point, I created something called MetDesk, MetLife's Division of Estate Planning for Special Kids. It was to educate families on the legal and financial issues of planning for the future. It didn't even exist in the industry. Innovative? Yes. Profitable? Extremely. It was the most profitable division in the entire corporation by the third year. The media started showing interest. Oxygen TV came to my home and did a day in the life. I was so excited until one day I'm on the elevator, and my boss, the then CEO, comes on the elevator and he says, "Nadine, when you wrote that business plan, how come you didn't just start your own company? Why did you bring it to us?" And my answer was honest. I don't know. I hadn't thought of it. Remember, I said about the profit. He looked at me and he said, "Well, that was stupid, wasn't it?" I thought about that. 2 years later, I went to his retirement party on a Monday. I turned my resignation in on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, I started a company called Springboard Consulting. It's been 13 years. What we do is we work with global corporations all around the world to mainstream people with disabilities. Those that are born with or have an acquired disability, visible or not. Veterans with service disabilities. Maturing workers with age-related disabilities. And those like myself, the invisible 9%. We do assessments and talent acquisition and training and all kinds of things. But something that I also want to bring up that we do, because you might not have thought of it, is the intersectionality between me, the disability mama, and some of the other communities within your workforce. How about the LGBT community? There's a very high propensity to adopt children with disabilities. Now we have a disability mama who's in another community. Think about it, and there's more intersections as we explore this further. So when Great Place to Work says all means all. This is the largest and fastest growing minority in the world. In the US, the disability community has surpassed the Hispanic population by 5%. That doesn't even include the 9%. And what about folks like me whose children are adults with disabilities? My older one's a college graduate. Could perhaps she be your next employee? Think about that. You all have regs that you deal with to hire people with disabilities. So what's a company to do? One, become aware. We're sitting here today, we're learning. Become educated. Educate your employees on these issues. Make a commitment to make change, engage, act, and implement that change. This is so important. Remember, I'm one person, but I represent 9% of your workforce today. This is not a future number that we're thinking about. So what I'd like to do is just say thank you for listening from Springboard, from all the disability mamas out there. I hope you learned something. Enjoy the rest of the summit.